The storm rolled over the hills of Valdria like an army of ghosts. Its wind howled against the stone walls of the Montclair estate, rattling the stained glass windows, tearing through the roses that lined the courtyard. Inside, Count Alaric de Montclair sat alone in his study, a man carved from shadow and regret. He had once been the pride of the realm, soldier, scholar, heir to one of Spain's oldest houses. But grief had hollowed him. His wife, Isabella, had died in childbirth, leaving behind a single daughter. 4 years, he locked himself away from the world, his heart a fortress as cold as the winter beyond his walls. Tonight, however, desperation had drawn him from mourning to madness. His fortune was gone. His estates, mortgaged to pay for failed harvests and wars that had bled his coffers dry. The Montclair name teetered on ruin. And so he had summoned her. Lady Serafina de Avila, widow of a rival lord, known across the kingdom not only for her beauty but her cruelty in business. The door opened with a whisper. She entered dressed in black velvet, her hair like dark fire against the candlelight. The scent of lavender and iron followed her, sweet, dangerous, impossible to forget. "Count Montclair," she said, voice smooth as wine. "I expected your pride would keep me waiting another year." He stood tall and unyielding, though his eyes betrayed sleepless nights. "I no longer have the luxury of pride, my lady. I have only my daughter. And she will not starve." A faint smile curved her lips. "So it is true. You intend to sell her future." "Not her future," he said, jaw tightening. "Her safety. Her dowry. Her place in a world that would devour her without a name to protect her." Lady Serafina moved closer, her rings glittering in the firelight. "And what will you give me, Alaric? What is a Montclair name worth to a woman who already has everything?" He hesitated. His breath caught. "I offer myself. 1 night. 1 night to seal whatever bargain you demand. But in return, you ensure my daughter's future." The silence that followed trembled with sin. Serafina's gaze lingered on him, this broken man still wrapped in nobility and despair. "You offer your body for your child's salvation," she murmured. How poetic. How utterly foolish. He said nothing. Then, she crossed the room and poured herself wine. "I will agree," she whispered finally. "But not because I need your body, Alaric. I will take your word, your soul, your promise that you will never speak of this night, to anyone. The deal will remain sealed in silence." He nodded. And when the clock struck midnight, thunder broke above the manor. The candles flickered. The wind wailed like a warning. Yet in that lonely room, 2 broken hearts forged a bond neither had sought, nor could escape. What began as a transaction turned into something far more dangerous. In the flicker of lightning, Alaric saw not the viper of courtly rumor, but a woman scarred by her own loneliness. In her eyes, he recognized the same void that haunted him, the same ache for something lost and never found again. Their lips met, and the storm outside became their witness. The night was a blur of need and fury, not tenderness but desperation. When dawn came, she lay against him in silence, her eyes open, her expression unreadable. "Do not mistake this for mercy," she said softly. "This was a debt paid, not love found." And yet when she left, he found her scent lingering in his sheets for weeks, a cruel ghost of something forbidden and unforgettable. Months later, Serafina's messenger arrived with papers that would change everything. The Montclair lands were saved. His daughter's inheritance secured. The deal had been honored. But with it came a sealed letter, one he dared not open for days. When at last he did, his blood ran cold. "The night has bound us, Alaric. And though you may forget me, the world will not forget what it births. You will hear from me again, not as a woman you bought, but as the mother of what you left behind." The letter was unsigned. But the handwriting, elegant, deliberate, was unmistakably hers. 10 years passed. The Montclair estate had changed. The vines grew again, the fields prospered, and Alaric's daughter, Celeste, had become the image of her late mother, fair-haired, gentle, and adored by all who saw her. Yet the Count had grown quieter, haunted by the memory of that letter and the woman he had never seen again. He often rode beyond the borders of his lands, always looking toward the southern hills, where rumor said Lady Serafina's manor stood in ruin, her fortune spent, her name swallowed by scandal. But fate has a cruel sense of timing. One evening, as the sun bled over the vineyards, a carriage arrived unannounced. Its crest was unfamiliar, black lilies on a field of gold. From it stepped a young man in a long coat, his posture regal, his gaze sharp as a blade. "I am Raphael de Avila," he announced to the servants. "I seek Count Montclair. It concerns a debt, and a promise." When Alaric entered the hall, his heart faltered. The boy, no the man, bore her face. Raphael bowed low. My mother sends her regards. She bids me fulfill the terms of your old arrangement. She could not come herself, her health forbids it. But I am here to claim what she was promised. The words froze the air. And what, Alaric said, his voice a whisper, was she promised? Raphael met his gaze. A union between our houses. Your daughter for my name. It was the price of the debt you owe her. Celeste, who had entered quietly, gasped. Father, what is he saying? Alaric felt the walls closing in. The past, that cursed night, had come back to collect its due. He tried to reason, to deny, but the documents Raphael brought bore both their seals, his and Seraphina's. In his grief and desperation, Alaric had signed away not just his body but his daughter's fate. Celeste wept. Father, please. I do not even know him. Raphael's voice was steady, but not cruel. I understand your fear, my lady. I did not come to steal you. I came to fulfill a vow neither of us made, yet both are bound by. In the days that followed, the house was consumed by turmoil. Celeste avoided him, while Alaric sank deeper into guilt. But Raphael remained, polite, distant, endlessly patient. He rode the lands, helped the workers, restored what time had ruined. It was Celeste who first began to soften. She would see him at dawn, tending the horses her father had long neglected. Or at dusk, reading beneath the old oak her mother once loved. There was sadness in his eyes, the kind that mirrored her own. One evening, unable to bear the silence, she approached him. You knew this bargain would destroy us. Why come at all? He looked at her then, truly looked, and something in his expression changed. Because my mother is dying, he said softly. And before she goes, she wished to know that the child born of her mistake did not live forgotten. Her breath caught. Child. Raphael hesitated, then spoke the truth that shattered everything. I am your father's son. The world tilted. The air turned to glass. She stepped back, pale as the moonlight spilling over them. You lie. I wish I did, he said. But she told me before she lost her voice, that you are my sister, born of the woman he once loved, and I am the child of the night that bound them. We are what they tried to bury. Celeste's tears fell silently. Then why come? Why tell me this? Because I could not live as a lie, he said. Nor could I let you be bound to me in ignorance. And for the first time, she saw the torment in him, the weight of two names that should never have crossed. From that night on, they spoke in whispers, bound by a secret that could destroy them both. But the heart is a traitor to reason. In their shared pain, they found comfort. In their forbidden truth, they found love, trembling, impossible, undeniable. Every touch was a sin. Every glance, a wound. And yet neither could turn away. They would meet beneath the oak, beneath stars that seemed to burn for them alone, their hands trembling as if afraid of what they had already done. Until one night, as thunder rolled again over the hills, Celeste whispered, If love is a curse, then let it be ours. And when they kissed, it was as though the heavens themselves wept, for no sin had ever felt so holy. The truth could not stay buried. It began with a whisper, a servant's trembling tongue, loosened by the weight of gold and fear. By dawn, that whisper had turned into fire. Across Valdria, the scandal spread, that the Montclair name had been defiled, that their children, the Count's own blood, were bound by a love that defied the laws of God and man alike. When the bishop arrived at Montclair Hall, cloaked in judgment and silence, the truth unfurled like a dagger. He demanded entry to every chamber, questioned every soul, and finally came before Alaric himself. The Count, once proud and unshakable, felt the world beneath him split open when the truth fell from the bishop's lips. He did not wait for the clergy's decree. He stormed from the hall, fury and heartbreak rising like a tempest within him. You did this, he hissed when he found Seraphina's messenger outside the chapel gates. Rain lashed against his face, and his voice broke with rage. You let them meet. You watched, knowing what they were. The messenger bowed his head, guilt etched into every line of his weathered face. My lady wished only to undo what was done, he murmured. She believed that love could cleanse the past, that perhaps the sins of the parents might be washed away through their children's hearts. But, his voice faltered. She was wrong. Alaric rode through the night, each hoofbeat a curse, each breath a wound. He rode until the woods bled into the dark hills of Avila, where Seraphina's ruined estate waited, cold and silent, like a tomb. He found her there, pale and fading, her once bright eyes dimmed by sickness and years of penance. She looked at him as if she had been waiting for this reckoning. You've destroyed them, Alaric said, his voice low, trembling, almost breaking. Seraphina's lips curved into a fragile smile. No, Alaric. We destroyed them long ago. The moment we made that deal, the night we tried to trade sin for redemption. He sank to his knees beside her bed, his heart pounding with terror. Tell me it isn't true, he whispered. Tell me Raphael isn't. He is yours, she said softly. And mine. The child we made in a night of despair. You left with your grief, Alaric. I lived with the reminder. The words shattered him. For a long time, there was only the sound of the rain on the broken roof, the fire crackling low, and the weight of their silence. When he finally rose, his face was pale as ash. He left her without another word. By the time he returned home, dawn was breaking, pale light spilling over the Montclair estate. He climbed the stairs to his daughter's room, his heart a hollow drum of dread. The door stood open. Celeste was gone. Her gowns lay untouched, her jewelry still in its chest. The window stood ajar, curtains fluttering in the wind. On her bed rested a folded letter, sealed with trembling wax. He tore it open. Father, do not search for me. I cannot live where love is named a curse. He goes with me, not as brother, not as lord, but as the one my heart chose before I ever knew his name. Alaric's scream tore through the morning like thunder. He rode out once more, through forests heavy with mist, through fields drenched in rain, his horse bleeding from exhaustion. He would not stop. He could not. And then through the fog he saw it, the sea. The cliffs rose before him like the edge of the world, and upon them stood the chapel ruin, the same one where he had once prayed for forgiveness, long before this curse began. There they were. Celeste stood on the cliff's edge, her white gown plastered to her skin by the rain, her golden hair wild in the wind. Beside her, Raphael held her hand, his eyes dark with defiance and sorrow. Father, Celeste cried, her voice breaking against the roar of the sea. Please let us go. Let us find peace far from your curse. Alaric dismounted, sword in hand, his heart tearing itself apart. Peace, he shouted. Peace cannot be built on sin. Raphael stepped forward, the storm whipping around him. Then strike me, he said. End it. I never asked to be born of your shame, but I will not let her pay for it. Lightning split the heavens, bathing them all in white fire. Alaric raised his blade, and for an instant, time froze. Then the sword fell. Not upon Raphael. It struck the ground beside him, the blade clattering against the stone. The count sank to his knees, sobbing into the storm. God forgive me, he whispered. I have cursed my blood with my own hands. Celeste ran to him, kneeling in the mud, her tears mingling with the rain. You were only trying to protect us, she said through her cries. But love does not end because you forbid it. He reached for her face, trembling, but she drew back, as if she already belonged to another world. Raphael took her hand, and together they turned toward the cliffs. Forgive us, Raphael said. And before Alaric could rise, before he could call their names, they vanished into the storm, two figures swallowed by rain and sea and destiny. When dawn came, the sky was pale and empty. Their horses were gone. Only footprints led to the edge of the cliff, then disappeared into the mist below. For days, Alaric searched. For weeks he prayed. But neither Celeste nor Raphael were ever found. Years passed. Seasons turned. The Montclair lands fell into ruin, the family name whispered only in sorrow. Yet in the far reaches of Galicia, travelers spoke of a small chapel by the sea, where candles burned every night for two lovers who defied heaven itself. They said an old man, cloaked in black, came there every year on the same night, to leave roses by the altar and whisper a name that the wind carried away. And when the wind was right, those who lingered near the cliff swore they heard them, a girl's laughter, a man's voice, a promise made in the dark. Soft. Eternal. Bound by the night that had begun it all.